Top of the morning to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Most of you are wearing nice green. Not all of you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. As you know, I've made it a mission of this speakership to raise our gaze and to go about reclaiming the American idea. I am very pleased that the Senate has passed a bill that I introduced along with Senator Patty Murray to help take us on the right path to work on fixing poverty in this country. If we're ever going to move the needle on poverty in America, we have to change the way that we think about this problem. Instead of putting the focus on effort, we need to focus on results. This bill will help us address how we better treat the root causes, not the symptoms of poverty. Addressing poverty will be a big part of our policy agenda that we will present to the country in the coming months. This is a good first step, and I hope to get this legislation to the President's desk very soon. Second, in a few days, the President will be traveling to Cuba. Before he does, let's not forget something. Let's not forget that the Castro regime has been guilty of countless human rights abuses. To this day, this is a regime that provides safe harbor to terrorists and to fugitives. Unfortunately, it is doubtful that the President will bring up the need for reform during his visit. Instead, he is set to announce new commercial deals between the U.S. companies and the Cuban regime, deals that will legitimize and strengthen the communist government. However, our trade embargo on Castro's Cuba, passed by Congress in 1959, is still, in fact, intact and enforceable. Despite the President's attempt to undermine this embargo by executive action, he is ultimately bound by it. That is the law of the land. Lastly, this morning, Secretary Kerry declared ISIS is committing genocide against Christians and religious minorities. As you know, this declaration comes about as a result of an oversight deadline set by Congress. I want to thank Chairman Royce, and I want to thank Mr. Fortenberry for their leadership on this issue. I also want to thank the Knights of Columbus and all those organizations and leaders around the world who have spoken out on this. This makes a difference. Their efforts in speaking out against genocide is making a difference. But now that our government is recognizing this crisis, it needs to do more to stop it. I hope the President will seize this opportunity to present a very clear strategy to defeat this enemy. And to all those brave people who are being persecuted, I would simply like to say this: we will stand with you, we will pray for you, and we will work every day to put these words into action. Thank you.
Speaker Ryan, you made a little news with my colleague John Harwood over a few Guinness recently.
I wasn't trying to.
I know you weren't, but just to clarify, I want to make sure that in the event that no person running for the Republican nominee right now gets enough on the first ballot, that you will unequivocally not put yourself
It is not
forward.
me. Look, I didn't think I made news. I thought I was pretty clear, to be candid with you. I saw Boehner last night, and I told him to knock it off. You know, I used slightly different words. I used his own words that he used to use against us when he told us to knock things off. It's not going to be me. It should be somebody running for president. Look, I made a decision over a year ago not to run for president. I really believe if you want to be president, you should run for president. People are out there campaigning, they're canvassing, there's caucuses and primaries. That's who we should select from among for our next presidents on whatever ballot we're talking about. So let's just put this thing to rest and move on.
Mr. Ryan, do you see yourself possibly as a negotiator at the convention if it does get to be, if it's a contested convention, which it looks like it will be?
Right, so this is what, you know, I had 6 days notice taking this job. I learned after becoming speaker that I'm the chair of the convention. So I will have to obviously bone up on all the rules and all of those things. My goal is to be dispassionate and to be Switzerland, to be neutral and dispassionate, and to make sure that the rule of law prevails, and to make sure that the delegates make their decision however the rules require them to do that. I will acquaint myself with these things at the right time. Right now I'm pretty busy trying to get Congress moving in the right direction.
Mr. Speaker, to that end, though, a few weeks ago you said that you viewed, to Luke's question, you viewed your role as ceremonial. And now you're saying you're going to bone up.
Well,
has something,
there's a lot of ceremony I got to bone up on as well.
right, but has something changed here in what, and where
No.
this is and what you're seeing in the tension in the party?
Nothing's changed other than the perception that this is more likely to become an open convention than we thought before. So we're getting our minds around the idea that this it could very well become a reality, and therefore those of us who are involved in the convention need to respect that. Somebody over here had one. Did you?
You answered my question.
Sorry,
We're gonna, we'll,
Right there.
Hi.
You missed it.
So last night, the budget advanced. Can you give us an idea of what's next in terms of timing and whether or not you can take it up?
Yeah, very pleased. Got a good vote out of the budget committee yesterday. I'm amazed at how fast they got it out. When I ran the budget, we'd get it out at 10, 11, 11:30 at night. Chairman Price needs to be complimented for how fast he got that thing moving. He beat all my records. Number one. Number two, look at the budget they passed. This is a budget that balances the budget, pays off the debt, honors our military with equipment that they need. It calls for tax reform. It repeals Obamacare. It does everything we need to do on the entitlement side to move people from welfare to work and to pay off this debt. So we think this is a very good budget. We're going to continue having that team discussion with all of our members of our conference to decide how to proceed from there on.
Following the budget question, the RSC is preparing to put out their own budget.
Yep,
And
as they do every year.
And there's some conflict still over whether or not the budget that passed out of the committee could pass on the floor. Is it possible to do something like a Queen of the Hill strategy? Is there another option than a straight
I don't know. We don't have an answer to that question yet. We're going to be discussing this with our conference on how best to proceed. I envision a lot of budgets coming to the floor. I bet Progressives will have one. I bet the CBC will have one. I assume Van Hollen will probably have one. For the Democrats, Budget Committee, RSC, for anybody, for all I know, there may be other budgets. That's always been the process. When that process occurs and under what circumstances, this is a decision we'll make as a team. Wong.
Mr. Speaker, in 2013, the House passed the No Budget, No Pay Act, which withholds lawmakers' salaries until they pass a budget. I think
In the
you
next Congress, 'cause there's a
you
constitutional issue
voted
with that, yeah.
in favor of that. Do you support withholding lawmakers' salaries until
Look,
they
I think
pass?
we should pass a budget, plain and simple. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Is that Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, Craig.
Hi, so on the question of the nomination going to...
Sorry, you're sitting in front of a guy from Wisconsin. You're just not going to get called on over.
I appreciate it. On the question of the nomination going to somebody who's actually running for president, I mean, do you agree with Donald Trump's statement that there would be riots?
I think that's it.
If someone with a clear lead and delegates were denied the nomination...
Nobody should say such things, in my opinion, because to even address or hint to violence is unacceptable.
Last question.
Mr. Speaker?
Wait, you're not wearing green. Go ahead.
No, come on.
Dude, sorry, man.
Oh, Walsh, it's St. Patrick's Day.
You're wearing green. It's St. Patrick's Day, man.
I mean, if I told you I was a little bit Irish, I'd be lying. I mean, I sympathize, but
If you think that one of the people running should be the one to be considered for the Republican nominee, do you think it's a bad idea for people in the Never Trump camp to try to organize some sort of third party?
That stuff. Go ahead.
thanks. I appreciate it.
Todd, you don't need to wear green.
Thank you, Chen. So over the course of the last couple of months, you have denounced Donald Trump for xenophobia and Islamophobia, I'm paraphrasing, for inciting violence, and now again for saying things that could be interpreted as inciting even more violence. At what point do you denounce his candidacy, and is it something you're going to have to do? Honestly, I know you try to be neutral.
I do not believe I'll have to do that. This is a democratic process. The Republican primary voter is going to make this decision on who our nominee is going to be. If the person doesn't get a sufficient delegates, then it goes to the camp, to the convention, and the delegates make that decision. And those delegates are elected in each of the caucuses, in each of the districts. I mean, every state has a different way of doing it, by Republicans. I'm going to respect that process. So it isn't my place to say who our nominee is or what. If anybody, not just Donald Trump, if anybody is out there representing the Republican Party in ways that we believe disfigure conservatism or do not portray what our views and principles are, I, as a party leader, and others I assume as well, have an obligation to defend our principles from being distorted, and we're going to continue doing that. Look, I am who I am. I am a conservative who believes in specific principles and specific policies, and I'm going to speak out on those all the time. Here's what I can control, and here's what I'm going to do. I, as Speaker of the House, am going to lead an effort for all of our members of the House Republican Caucus to offer an agenda to the country so that we can take an agenda to the men and women of America to show them how we get America back on track. More than 2/3 of the people in this country think America is headed in the wrong direction. That's not just Republicans. We, as the other party, have a moral obligation and a duty to offer a very bold and specific alternative course, so that if we win this election, then we have an obligation and a mandate given to us from the citizens of this country to go on that course, to put those reforms in place, to get this country back on the right track. That's something I can control. That's something I can be involved in. That's something I can help deliver. That's what I'm focused on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.